I think that you do not miss what you do not know.
How is the job search as an international student in France?
You want to give up, oh?
But what's your cultural shock?
I had no relationship with failure. I didn't actually see the beauty of being out of my country.
Did you feel like you had to start over again?
You dey near na say na better action. But you go there.
Welcome to another episode of the IC podcast. Today we are visiting France with my very good friends Isis Jubko. But before we go to France, let's go visit her home country. Where is home for you?
Where is home? That's a good question. Where is home is where my heart is, actually.
Where is your heart?
My home is actually in Cameroon. Proud Cameroonian. So
I know.
where le continent, as we say.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we are trying to be humble, but unfortunately, it's difficult. It's actually difficult. So technically, I'm born and raised in Cameroon, Yaounde. And I had the privilege to do other cities in the country.
Yeah.
I did. After Yaounde, I went to Buea. Then I went to Douala. So I have more or less the knowledge of 3 cities in the country.
Yeah.
So definitely that's home for me. Cameroon is my home.
Yeah.
Now, I've become a globetrotter a bit.
Oh, wow. All right. Can you tell us more about that if you will? I mean,
So technically after Cameroon, I left for my studies in Paris, where I'm now based. And I studied there and I eventually worked there as well. And so 2024 is my year of catching flights. The reason you see me here in person.
welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy your stay so far, and thanks for stopping by, because it's an honor for you to, in your jet set life, for you to actually stop here in the IC world. So you said home is Cameroon. You said you've been Yaounde, Buea, Douala.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that you are very, very proud of the region you come from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a love for the tourism your region offers.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the tourism aspect of the region you come from, which is the western part of Cameroon?
Mm-hmm.
I know back home you travel a lot to the west. You are a very proud Bangu.
Yeah, you know it.
What makes Bangu interesting?
Bangu is my mother's village.
Okay.
To start with, my dad is from Bangua, but that's another story. So Bangu in particular is it's a beautiful village. When we were kids, or even when I was still in Cameroon, back then we used to go for the family meetings every August. So it was an opportunity for us to gather as a family at large and to visit the place, the village.
Yeah.
We could also visit other neighborhoods. And first of all, what makes it special to us is the fact that we have our grandparents there. May they rest in peace. So another thing is we get to know more about our culture, as our home is not really far from the chieftaincy, from the So we get to go there and visit sometimes and learn about the culture. We also have in Bangu what is called the Kubu Festival.
Kubu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, in the real accent, it's Kumbu.
Say it again.
Kumbu.
Kumbu. Okay. Kumbu.
Festival. So it's a festival that's centered around banana, but it's banana. How we say, banana from the bush banana. Okay. Yeah.
Banana
so
bush.
we believe that it is something that is actually good for the health. It cures a lot of diseases, and so the people around will leverage on that. I say we, but my ancestors did.
Yeah.
And that is how it became a whole festival. So I used to go there for the festival. It was an opportunity for us to learn more about the place.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is also Bangu is not just a village.
It's a county.
No, it should. So that's what makes it special, because a lot of people come from everywhere. And if you go back in the history of the Bamilikela, for example, with all the difficulties the people had, so there was a lot of migration. So many people are not really from the land.
Yeah.
They came from somewhere else, maybe because they were fighting some wars and stuff like that. So if you want to dig even me, I'm coming from somewhere else.
I mean, we all come from somewhere. But okay, I mean, this is one aspect where I like people to share about what they are most proud of
Mm-hmm.
in looking back in your culture,
Mm-hmm.
and I can say you are definitely proud of where you do come from. I mean, you are proud of being Cameroonian. You call it what, the continent.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are not humble. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm saying you guys, I'm Cameroonian, but
Mm-hmm.
you guys are something else.
Uh-huh.
And then you are proud of Bangu.
Mm-hmm.
This might sound stupid,
Mm-hmm.
but if I have to go to Bangu,
Mm-hmm.
where will I stay?
We have a new resort, a
Okay.
garden resort, actually, very beautiful one, Tajida.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, it's a beautiful place, and you have the opportunity to actually experience a great environment. You can stay there. It's very modern. There are sports complexes
Oh,
inside.
nice.
You can actually do some rides inside. It's
Okay.
actually very big. There are so many flowers that coming from a lot of countries in
Okay.
Africa as well. And also you can have some spa sessions if you want. You can actually swim if you
Oh,
want.
wow.
Yes, and it is very good food too. Very good food. I can attest to that because it took some time, like at least 10 years for it to be fully built and
Oh,
opened.
really?
Yes. And it was a place that we used to visit when we used to go to the village.
Yeah.
So today it's officially opened,
Yeah.
and so many people actually go there. Actually, even during the AFCON,
Yeah.
the winners of the AFCON
Oh,
were
yeah.
actually
Yeah.
there.
The Senegalese team, that's what they
Yes,
stayed,
so you
actually.
see that it's actually a blessed place.
Oh, my God. I can see why you guys are not
We
humble.
cannot be. We are trying, but we cannot be humble now. So technically, that's the beautiful place. And the good
Yeah.
news is you can actually have a way of actually visiting either Bangu itself, as I said, the chieftaincy, the
Yeah.
royal family and stuff like that, the royal palace. You can actually visit some natural resources that we have in the place, because there are some falls in Bangu.
Ooh.
There is what we call the Tournant Z. It's actually a road that is zigzag.
Okay. You,
And
hey, feel free to say the name in French, because that's the beauty of the podcast.
yes,
You have to call things the way they are called.
yes.
No, you don't need to translate that. So how do you
Okay.
call it again?
Le Tournant Z.
The Tournant Z.
Yes, so it's
Okay.
actually, it can be scary when you're driving, to be
Okay.
honest, because you just turn and you just see. But it's something that's particular to the place as well. And it leads to other neighboring villages. And yeah, you have the opportunity with the people from the resort to visit the
Alright.
neighborhoods. And it's very beautiful.
Nice. Is there somewhere else you would like us to visit in Bangu before we jump to the next location?
No, I think I said pretty much everything. There are beautiful, as I said, natural resources. There are some falls. And it's also something special because people get to actually visit the place, and the falls actually are connected to other villages. So when you go there, you actually, it's like the place where people actually go and collect water. Sometimes you can see people washing their clothes
Yeah.
there. There's another part which is really beautiful that we can take and film. And yeah, so it's beautiful, and you get to go through the farms too. There are
Alright.
good people's farm. Don't just steal there because you might stay there.
Oh my goodness.
Don't just make sure you don't steal.
Okay.
But if you know anybody in the neighborhood that owns a farm, you can actually go farming. It's
Oh.
interesting. And especially when you go in August, as we usually did, we had groundnuts. How do they say it in
What?
American English? Peanuts.
Peanuts, yeah.
Yeah, so we
cooked
could,
peanut.
we could extract them from the soil and actually wash them and clean.
Yeah.
And then during the family meetings or gatherings, we actually eat them. It
Yeah.
was beautiful. I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
everybody should have a village experience.
I think so. It's a different vibe, you know.
Mhm.
The fire, the round fire. It's just like what people in America, they like camping.
Mhm.
That's like one of the things that's like a family activity. They'll do camp,
Mhm.
or they'll go fishing.
Okay.
Us is a completely different experience. We just go to the village,
Mhm.
have this experience of farming,
Mhm.
have this experience of around the firewood, memories, especially when you go with your parents. You just think about it, like your childhood memories of where they used to grow. Oh, I used to play in this specific area. It's a nice bonding experience.
Exactly. And it's also an opportunity for parents to actually show you, okay, I'm a girl. Matter of fact, in my culture, ladies don't usually inherit land.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think actually it's my mother's side, so my mother doesn't have any land there.
Yeah.
But her brothers do have land.
Yeah.
So when we go to Bangu specifically, I get to see my uncles showing my cousins, like, this is maybe the land, this is my land. So
Yeah.
obviously it translates that when I would die, don't kill me. But when I would die, this will be yours.
Yeah.
So in my case, it's actually when I go to Bangwa, my dad's village, that
That
I
you
can
actually-
actually see what my dad owns. I can see what my dad owns, what his other brothers own as well. My grandfather's
Yeah. Heritage.
place, and so it's very good, and it's helped us to actually protect this, because our parents are getting more and more old,
Yeah.
and we have the opportunity to actually see this and know this, and it's our legacy. So
Do you think our generation is kind of losing this heritage of going back to the village and seeing? Because I didn't grow up in a village. So I grew up in a city. So for me, if I decide to go to the village, it's just because of my parents. But do you think that when our parents die, not that they will die soon, are we going to lose this aspect of always going back to the village? I mean, we do call it village, but it's pretty much, it's a town. Are we losing it?
I'll say yes, because I think that I was amongst, or we, because you used to go, we are amongst the privileged people that actually cherish their place, that actually have parents who actually educate us on our culture and where we come from.
Yeah.
Many people I talk to, they do not actually care about their village. They don't actually care where they come from or their land, because they were not transmitted this.
Yeah.
And what I can say is that basically what I think is our generation needs to actually get interested. Now, there are two kinds of people I think who are going to be interested. Basically us, who actually used to go there and be like, okay, it's good to go. We have a good knowledge of our roots. Now, there are other people who might hear that dad has a land in this part of the country and stuff like that. Now, out of interest, they will go there. But now, as funny as it may sound, a village is a sacred place. And even if you have land and stuff like that, there's some rights and there's some rules and regulations like any other place that you have to follow. So you might own a land, but in our place, for example, there are certain things that the chief needs to be aware of and stuff like that. So you have a lot of administrative procedures to do. And if you do not know your culture, if you do not know actually how it works, it will be difficult. So this kind of people will actually have to learn. Maybe at that point, it might be because of the interest of the land, because they want to use the land, but basically they will. Now there's another set who do not care, even if there's land. They'll definitely not care.
I do not pretty much grow in an environment where going to the village was a priority.
Okay.
Yeah, we would go, but it wasn't like, oh, you have to go. It's just like, oh, we've been there, it's all right. This generation is going to move on, because like my kids, I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I'm honest, because it's a legacy, but I don't know if I would say, hey, let's go back there, but I wouldn't send my kid to the village, for example.
I think that you do not miss what you do not know. In my case, my dad was a very traditional person, and he was everything that was dealing with Pan-Africanism and stuff like that. So if you want to know about Sheikh Anta Job, ask my dad. If you want to know about everything around independence, all the manga bells and every great figures, NS1G, and all the great figures in our country, ask my dad. If you want to know about Egypt and civilization, ask my dad. Matter of fact, he actually used to teach my brother how to write hieroglyphics.
Wow.
Thank God I was too young for that. Thank God I was too young for that. So to tell you how much deep in the culture my dad is, so he's actually above the Bamileke culture. It's really the African culture as a whole. So in that case, matter of fact, my name is Isis. Is it so? So you see that I was actually rooted in all of that. So be it cultural aspects, on a small scale, which is the Bamileke level, my dad actually took it at heart to educate us on it. Be it the African culture and civilization as a whole, my dad actually took it upon him to teach us that during the holidays, sometimes we used to go for classes where we would learn how to speak our dialect. He actually instilled the love of the culture in us. So that's one thing I really appreciate that my dad did. My mom did too, but she was more of a help. But my dad was actually the engine. and the fuel of this. Now, in your case, it wasn't actually the case. So I feel like you cannot miss what you do not know.
Yeah,
It's
that's
because you do not know that you don't actually see
yeah.
maybe the impact or the importance. But it is something that if you're interested, you have to learn on your own. Actually,
Yeah.
that's all I can say. And yeah, with time, we're actually losing a lot of things. But I do believe that there are some people, or maybe us, who had the opportunity to be transmitted that from our parents. Maybe it's our duty to actually help you guys to find interest in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I believe that if we do not know our roots, we actually
We don't miss
lose a
something.
sense of our identity.
That's a really great way to put that. I like what you said. You do not miss what you do not know, and that's true. If you don't know this experience, why am I going to miss it?
Exactly.
What was there? Like what's like? I've participated in certain festivals, but I wasn't involved. Like I will go see it, you see, but I won't be involved. So for me, it's like, oh, that's cool, and then I move on to the next one. But there was no involvement, and I do like what you said. You do not miss what you do not know. That's great. Which leads me to our second point, which is going to be education. Oh, that's not even education. Let's jump to Buea, because you spend what, kind of like your college life in Buea, right? How was Buea for you? Like, why Buea? I'm curious.
The smallest answer I can give
Yes, tell me.
I wanted to run away from my parents.
Like most of us, especially for college.
I wanted to live the life of a university girl.
Okay.
I was sick and tired of being at home in Yaounde, so I decided to go to Buea. That's the simplest answer.
That's all I need.
Okay.
That's all I. So now let's talk about. It's still in this aspect of tourism and culture. What can you tell us about Buea's tourism?
Buea actually is a great place. As being of an Anglo-Saxon education, I actually found out that okay, it would be easier for me to go to Buea.
Yeah.
Now, because there are more English schools in Buea because it's the English part of the country, and secondly, because of the people. Now, what is great about Buea is that as Francophones, I might say, I will put it in quotes, we do not know a lot about the actual people from Buea or from Bamenda, like the people we put as Anglophones. You get? We don't know really about their culture, aside from the fact that they do speak English. Before going there, I did not know who they were. Like
You didn't know the people, like the different tribes that makes up the
Exactly.
Southwest and the Northwest. I mean, let's say the Southwest region. Yeah.
And me going there was actually to learn about the people as well. Now, obviously, my target was my studies. So, but I got to know about the people first of all. So I got to know the different people there. We have the Bakweri people, we have the Bayangi, we have the Bangwas, we have
There's a lot of different tribes that makes up. Yeah.
different tribes there. And my experience in Buea as a whole was that Buea was very beautiful. Buea is a one-way town, actually. So as if actually when you come to Buea, you just go straight. You have you do the tour of the city in one line. And actually, what is the most attractive place in Buea is obviously the mountain.
Oh yeah.
Mount Cameroon, which is the biggest mountain in Cameroon.
Yeah.
And also we do have other places, beautiful places around. And Buea has a very beautiful, how will I say, ecology. And there's a lot of fertile soil there. So you can actually find beautiful places where you can see beautiful flowers and gardens. And also something good about Buea is actually the University of Buea is actually, if I'm not mistaken, it should be the first English university in Cameroon.
I think so too.
So the people there also had the privilege to have international lecturers and stuff like even international students come there to study several courses as well. That's what makes the beauty of Buea. And above all of that, what I actually liked the most about the city, apart from the generosity and the hospitality of the people, was the fact that Buea is actually an entertainment place in the country. Like if we were looking for Hollywood in Cameroon, then it should be Buea.
Okay, wow.
Actually, at some point it was called Hollywood.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So as I am somebody that is interested in entertainment and stuff like that, I had the opportunity to meet up with several directors
Yeah.
and a few artists who are now big artists today. And at that time, I was a makeup artist, so I had the opportunity to make up a few of them and go to some sets,
Nice.
sometimes movie sets, sometimes video sets. So it was actually good, and I used to usually go to some studios where people, the artists, would go there and record. I was actually a member of a choir,
Okay.
so we had the opportunity to go there, to go as well there. Even as a side gig, I used to go in a studio where I could use my voice to make some advertisement for
wow.
products. So Buea actually is Hollywood, like before all this,
Hollywood.
yeah. So before all these issues came with the crisis and stuff like that, even after, I mean, the people still have the zeal to actually produce a lot of things. So we have so many artists
Yeah.
and so many upcoming artists and even actual artists
Yeah.
there or who were born there. Most especially, I would say the Anglophone artists. But apart from that, I think that a lot of them actually instilled a lot or inspired the Francophone part of the country,
Yeah.
I believe. So it's definitely Hollywood.
I think so too. I think so too. So when you were in Buea, I mean, I've been to Buea once, and one thing I like about Buea was the fact that you could drive to Limbe, and you go to the beach. What was your experience going to Limbe?
Yeah, I used to go to Limbe a few times, and it was very good. We used to go. There's a place called Down Beach. We used to
Down,
eat
okay.
fresh fish
Oh,
and
yeah.
other seafoods. It was very, very beautiful, and that's the beauty of being in Buea, is that you get to actually be between two beautiful cities. We have Douala, which is the economic capital of the country, and we have Limbe, which is the fun
Okay.
place with the beach and all of that.
Yeah.
So it was actually very beautiful. So during weekends, we had the choice to either go left or right.
So Buea was like centered, was like in the middle.
Yes,
And you could have a trouble. You know what? This week, you know what? Let's go down to Douala.
exactly.
Oh, let's go down to Limbe. So with this live, I mean, I like the tourism aspect of it, of Bango, of Buea. There's one thing that we haven't talked yet about Cameroon is the food. I usually start the podcast talking about the culinary before even jumping into the tourism aspect, but I did the reverse with you. What's your favorite Cameroonian dish?
It's difficult to answer that question.
How is it?
I told you I had arrow this morning.
Yeah.
It's only because it is this morning that arrow is my favorite dish. But to be honest,
Top 5.
Today is arrow, tomorrow
Give me
is
5.
ndole.
What?
Yeah, we have arrow, we have
Okay.
ndole, we actually have okok that I have,
Yeah.
and we have achu
Achoo.
with a lot of meat inside as well, and we have what we call made de pistache. So it's
Ooh.
actually pudding
Okay.
made from actually
Pistachio.
Pistachio, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hope it's the right thing.
I'll
Don't lead your
double-check.
people astray.
Yeah, I think pistachio is pistachio. I mean, I'll double check. I'll definitely add a picture of what it looks like.
Yeah. In Cameroon, it's difficult. It's actually, people say we're not humble, but
Tell me.
if there's one thing, you can say everything about my country, but if there's one thing, and I can bet, you have the best food in the world. See, we have a lot of food. If I should actually count the amount of food we have from the West region, it's a lot. If I mix the Bamileke people and the Bamoun, we have a lot of food coming from only this region. Then now, if you want to take from the 9 other regions, there is a lot of food. And the good thing about it is that every region comes with its own culinary culture.
Yeah.
And based on what their soil produces, they can mix 1 or 2 things. I don't know how our ancestors were doing it, but
That's
man,
true, right?
they did a
That's
good
true,
job.
right? Like, how would you even think about sit down like, let's make arrow?
See,
Huh.
our spices are so good. In fact, if there's one thing that people cannot deny, is Cameroon pepper. The pepper is hot. The the pepper is very hot.
Oh my goodness.
And it's very good. So difficult for me to say I have a best meal, because today I can say this one is my best meal. Tomorrow I taste something else. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And till date I have eaten a lot of Cameroon food, but I have not eaten everything. There are a lot of
That's
food
true too.
that I haven't tasted,
Yeah.
and it's still good.
That's true.
So, man, I cannot tell you anything. Like
Okay, let's jump on the street food.
Ooh, yeah, street food.
Street food.
So
Top
yeah.
5.
Beignet haricot bouilli.
Oh my goodness.
BHB. So it's puff and beans basically,
Yeah.
and the pap
At
aside.
the pub. just a side comment. When you were in Buea, did you speak Pidgin? Did you learn Pidgin?
Yes.
What's Pidgin?
Pidgin is actually English, but that was actually modified in a way as to suit the people of
The region.
the region. So technically, our forefathers, when the British came into our land, when they taught the language to our forefathers, basically some of them were like, Master, we don't have the time for that. So some of them will actually speak Pidgin. At the beginning, it was more or less like a mistake. Like they did not know how to speak actual good English, so they had to merge what their the traditional language looks
With
like
the
with
English.
English. So that is what actually formed Pidgin. So at the end of the day, it actually became a language. It was no more like a mistake. It became a language, and it actually helped the people among themselves to communicate. Yeah, so basically regions like the Northwest and the Southwest actually had to communicate with this Pidgin. And let me tell you, Pidgin at that time and today's has changed.
Yes,
So
evolve.
yeah, it has evolved. Today, if you listen to Cameroon Pidgin, or for example, Cameroon Pidgin, if you compare Cameroon Pidgin to Nigerian Pidgin, it's not more the same. Whereas the people, they are actually at the boundaries. Why? Because Cameroon Pidgin has come and added a small French words inside. Like they say, for example, like the famous man who said, we dey near na say na better action. But you go there. You see, this is a mixture of Pidgin, of English, of French, and it's actually something that has become so funny. And I mean, only Cameroonians can actually understand what the man is saying.
Na better action. Oh my goodness. Oh my.
So it's actually funny. So technically, that's what it is. And also, matter of fact, sometimes our grandmothers, even the Bamilikes, though it is the Francophone region, we are actually in between the northwest and the southwest. We're actually middle way.
Yeah.
And our forefathers and even grandparents, the ones that I met, they actually spoke Pidgin. Sometimes they will not even know French.
Yeah.
Because we, the younger kids, maybe will not really know our traditional language or our dialect. So technically, because we had the opportunity to go to school and learn English, sometimes they will speak to us in Pidgin and we'll find a way to understand what they mean.
Yeah, I think like my grandma, when she was here, like she wouldn't speak French. She would speak her native language, and then she'll speak Pidgin. That's it. And any other language. I think it's so funny how there are similarities, you know. And I'll end with this before we go back to the food. How no matter where you find yourself, whether it's in the northwest, southwest, or the west, there's always some similarities. It's so crazy. It's like, why are they even divided? But when I can see a lot of similarities in these different regions. It's so funny, but hey, you know what? We are growing up. It's up to us to shape our future. That's what I'll say. Learn from our grandparents, and think of how we want our future to look like. I think it's our battle. We either fight for it, or we just we just become spectators. It's our call. We choose. But going back to the street food. So you were saying beignet haricot. What's your other one?
So we have soya.
Oh my goodness! I'm surprised that wasn't even your first one.
We have soya. We have every kind of soya. We have beef. We have pork. We have other.
Yeah.
We have chicken.
Chicken. We have lamb.
Lamb. Yeah.
Goat.
Oh, we have everything.
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Jeez. Yeah. Apart from soya.
Then the other street food, there's what we call beignet coquille.
Oh yeah.
So it's maybe we call it coquille beans.
Coquille beans.
It's very good too.
Actually, I think what's coquille beans in English? I have to check that.
Yeah.
Coquille beans. actually.
So that's what we used to do. We used to have our street food. Um, what again as street food? I know we have a lot. Now
We
those are
do.
my top three, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we have the almighty poisson braisé.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Poisson
The
braisé, I'm sorry.
Almighty.
I'm sorry.
It's different.
It's
With what? With what?
the poisson braisé. We
Yeah.
have bobolo.
Uh,
See, it's actually bobolo. What's bobolo? So it's comment on dit manioc?
it's yuca. Yuca.
Yuca.
Yeah, yuca.
Okay, so I don't know
Oh,
how.
cassava.
Yeah, it's actually cassava that we succeed to actually
You grind.
to grind.
You process.
You process and have it inside some leaves.
Yeah,
Then what we tie and we put under the fire for some time. It's very good.
it is.
Or we can have plantains
Yeah,
as well with it. Or we can have some fries
yeah.
as well. So it's very good. We have spices too. It's amazing. And we have other seafood like
Yeah.
shrimps. Actually, Cameroon,
Yeah.
Rio dos Cameros. The name of the country is actually shrimps. So if you go, especially to Douala or other coastal areas like Limbe as well, if you go there, you have the best of the shrimps, big shrimps, and so you have the best of it, and it's very, very good, and they are really fresh. So yeah, those should be my top.
I feel like someone listening to this would like to visit Cameroon now just because of you, because of the food, and then the tourism sector. Unfortunately, we have to step out of Cameroon.
Yeah.
We have to go to a different country. So you all of your education was Anglo-Saxon, even though you speak French, but all of your education from primary school to college is Anglo-Saxon. But you decided to go to France.
Oh.
Was it hard to adjust?
Yes. Yes and no. Hard. Why? Because we had I studied actually pretty much the courses. It was a continuation of the courses I actually did in Buea, and it was hard in the sense that there are certain things, maybe legal aspects that I needed to know because I was actually studying accounting. So there are certain standards I needed to know, and in order for me to adjust to the actual territory where I was doing my master's, which is France. So that I had to readapt myself in that sense. Now it wasn't too far from the Cameroon one, but yeah, I had to readapt myself to that. And also another thing was the jargon. There are certain jargons which I did not know because I wasn't a francophone, and I had to learn on the spot. I also had to learn how to write good French because sometimes we had lecturers who literally want us to, in masters, they will actually dictate and want us to write to write what they are saying, and I would do certain mistakes like errors. There's certain things what they call in French les accords.
Okay.
En jas et en nombre.
Yeah.
You'll be doing French together from one to I don't even know. Don't look for me in that thing. Thank God for Google. Not even Google. Thank God for how do we call it? Autocorrect.
Okay.
Yeah, it's able to correct some of my vocabulary and also vocabulary basically. It helps me to actually correct some mistakes.
Well, I just want you mentioned your oh my goodness, your field, which is accounting, and the English accounting system and the French accounting system is two different things, especially when you come to financial accounting, the entries are not the same. So did you? Of course, you had to relearn, but what was the learning curve for you?
Honestly, it wasn't really bad. One thing about Cameroon is the fact that we Anglophones, though I studied in Buea, Buea was more or less tilting towards the English way, and English way is IFRS. And now there was English way, but we also had some courses called OHADA accounting. And now OHADA is actually everything that goes with the French countries, French
Mm-hmm.
speaking countries on the continent. So so because we knew about Ohada accounting, we could actually blend with the francophone part of the country.
Oh.
And now Ohada accounting is not far from French Gap, actually, with the accounting accounts, like the numbers, and it's not really that far.
Mm-hmm.
Though I wasn't the best in Ohada accounting, I could actually, because of my knowledge of Ohada accounting, actually adapt to the one in of France. Now, things that will actually change other legal aspects, and we'll talk about also taxation.
Okay.
That will actually change. So I had to readjust and relearn that
Mm-hmm.
because it was quite different from Cameroon. So those are stuff like that that I needed to learn and adjust. So it wasn't the easiest, especially in my first year. But with time, I could actually readapt myself. And the good news for me is, though I didn't school in French, I
Yeah.
actually knew how to speak French
Speaks French.
fluently. So in any case, when I had particular specific issues, I could reach out either to my classmates or to the lecturer.
Is so apart from I know you talk about writing notes.
Hmm.
Was there any other difficult situation you face in the francophone educational system?
Yeah, sometimes you actually write exams,
Mm-hmm.
and there are certain, because you don't know the jargon, there are
Mm.
certain mistakes that you make, or there are certain ways you write which will not usually make sense to your lecturer. Though you know the language, but because you don't use the right words to describe a particular situation, it can be problematic.
Yeah.
And if your lecturer is not really the understanding type, it can be difficult. Sometimes our exams were actually with our laptops and stuff like that. And my laptop used to be a quality laptop, an English laptop.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I would type and maybe I waste time because I want to put it
Uh,
automatically on the French
yeah.
and makes a few mistakes. So I actually used to waste time like that. Or sometimes when I would type, actually I have errors or mistakes, but linked to, as I said earlier, my
Yeah.
vocabulary. So those were the main difficulties. But yeah, apart from that, it was really good coming from an English background. It was good for me to actually also. It actually taught me a lot of things, like learning about the French way of doing stuff.
Yeah.
And so today I can leverage on it and say,
You
okay,
can.
I'm more knowledgeable of either the French gap, French economic environment, and even the French language. I can say that I'm better
How
than
long
I
did
was.
it take you then to pretty much adjust? I'm just curious. Do you think you can estimate the time?
Yeah, technically, to adjust fully. Okay, I'll say the
Or to adjust to at least to a good level?
good level. I'll say 3 months.
3 months.
3 months,
And
yes.
that's because you spoke French.
That's because that's because I
I mean,
speak French.
you speak French.
Yeah.
So, looking at your journey, if someone that did the same thing you did, that's followed the same path you did, Buea, then is moving to France. If the person comes for advice, what type of advice would you give her or him?
The first thing to know is whether the person actually speaks the language, which is
Okay.
French. Now, if the person speaks French, then it's fine. If the person
Okay.
does not, obviously you have to learn the language.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing you have to do as an English person from an English background, you actually need to go towards people, because what an actual person who has been studying in French all his life will know
Mm-hmm.
is different from what you know. Now,
Okay.
it doesn't. It actually gives you a deficit in some way, but it also gives you an advantage.
Okay.
Now, on the deficit part of it, you are not actually as knowledgeable as the person, number one, and also your capacity to grab certain things to be slower than
Yeah.
the other person. So the other thing you need to do is to be outgoing, to
Okay.
reach out to people. Do not hesitate to ask questions during your classes,
Yeah.
because you need to understand. And I mean, the teachers or the lecturers are always willing to respond, and even if they're not willing, it's your duty to ask, because if you fail, they will not come back and
Yeah.
they will say you had the opportunity to ask and you didn't. So
True.
you always ask. You can actually ask your mates as well. especially those who also come from a French background. They can actually help you with that.
Yeah.
You also have to practice a lot, like especially in places where you know that you're not really knowledgeable.
Yeah.
As we say, practice makes perfect. So normally, if you do put more effort, maybe than the other ones,
You'll
you
be.
actually find yourself getting to the same level quickly
Yeah.
as they do.
I want to talk about the procedure of you getting the French visa. Was it hard?
Yes. Now, it wasn't the process itself wasn't really hard.
But what's in the process? Like, did you, for example, for me to come to the US, I needed to find a university, or which was done by my college in Cameroon. But then I needed to take the TOEFL, which is an English test, to just show my English proficiency. Is this an exam like that for France?
Yes, there is an exam for France, but I didn't have to take the test. Now, so what happens? Basically, there's a platform called Campus France. It's actually a governmental platform that the French authorities put in place for international students. Now, it is found in several countries. So Cameroon is part of them. So technically, you have two options. Either you go for the fact that you can find a school within the platform. Those schools are usually public schools,
Okay.
or you can take another step, which is actually finding a school on your own, gaining admission in the school, and just coming to process everything that's administrative for your visa. So technically, in both cases, at the end of the day, you guys meet at the second part of the process, which is actually going through the Campus France screening. Now, the screening takes into account everything that concerns your diplomas. Now, based on the level of education you're going to go to. In my case, I was going for a master's, so they eventually asked me my GCE, be it O level and A levels.
A-level.
They also asked me my bachelor's degree certificate. And yeah, so I had to give them this. Now, due to the fact that I was an Anglophone, I actually had to translate this in French.
Okay.
Now, this translation is not just me getting up and translating because I know both languages. No, I had to go through a professional translator,
Okay.
and the professional translator actually did it for me, and he got to stamp it
Okay.
for the document to actually be
Legal.
legal and yeah, having a certain value. And when I collected this from the translator, I could now put it. Everything was done online. I could now put it online. Now, in my case, it was 2020, and it was really when the COVID was hitting hard. So I started officially my procedure, finding the school, getting admission. It was approximately February. So by March, April, I had admission and stuff like that. Now, basically, the Campus France stuff, I wanted to start in May, but the platform had difficulties. Like everything was just so difficult because as what happened was that as France was under confinement
Yeah.
or lockdown, what happened was that everywhere,
Was
or at least in Cameroon, the people there were also on lockdown.
lockdown. Okay.
So I guess maybe the fact is that they should have a liaison with the people in France. So if
Yeah.
the offices are closed over there,
Then
automatically
they are closed.
yeah, it should be closed in Cameroon as well.
Yeah.
So that's what made the process hard. But when they came back to life, I must call it that way, it was end of August, September, by the way. So I had already uploaded my documents. What they had to do is to validate the documents. Then when this was done, I had to go for an interview.
Yeah.
I had an interview with the people. Then they were asking me a few questions which I had to answer. And as soon as they validate my papers, they will give me, or they'll tell me to go to the embassy. And I guess they will send the information, necessary information, to the embassy. So all I had to do is go to the embassy's platform and take a date, pick a date. It wasn't now at that point. It wasn't an interview. I just had to go and give my documents. The documents were everything related to my stay. Where am I going to stay? Everything that was finance related, and also some administrative documentation to from
That was when
Cameroon.
Campus one that was in the embassy.
That was the embassy.
Okay.
Campus France was basically everything that was educational,
Okay.
whereas the embassy was everything that was administrative.
Okay.
They would ask me for my passport. They would ask me for my ID card. They would ask me for my finances. They would ask me for where am I going to stay. Everything that's got to do with my lodging and stay.
Okay.
So basically, that was it. And yeah.
Does Campus France help you in this in the embassy process? Or do they just fund you a school, they get you an acceptance letter, and that's it?
Yes, that's it. And
I
they
mean-
verify the validity
Okay.
of my my documents.
Okay.
If you go for a master's, you have to prove that you had the previous certificates from high school,
Okay.
and also prove that you had a bachelor's degree. And that is the essence of Campus France. And only when they find you eligible that they send you to the embassy. And now this is something that usually took some time, but because they were closed, actually when they reopened, they tried to accelerate everything. So
Okay.
I did all the process. So from the validation, because I had put my documents ever since about June, and they validated it in the end of August,
Wow.
beginning September, because they were closed. And as well, they did every process and all the screening they wanted to do. I had the interview within September, and yeah, I was sent to the embassy still in September, and
Wow.
I definitely had my visa end of September
Wow.
because I traveled October 3rd.
Okay.
I had my visa on the Monday. I left on the Friday,
When did school start for you?
on the 5th of
Oh.
October. So I technically had to. Normally, due to the fact that if it was under normal circumstances, I would have traveled way earlier.
Yeah.
It's time for me to get adapted to a new environment and stuff like that. But
So
because of the
it was rushed.
COVID season, it was rushed. And also it was die minute, and they had to reopen because they knew that students were coming for school and stuff like that. And it was just for a short period. Remember at that period, travels were restricted,
Yep.
and they weren't even giving visas to other people at that
Yeah.
point.
People
only
they
giving
were still trying
visas.
to figure out how to live with this new.
Yes, they were giving visas only to students. So
Okay.
visitors and stuff like that, they won't give any visa. And that is what used to happen. And that's how I got my visa, and I eventually left.
So when I did all of my application, now once I was registered in the school, I had the option to choose where to live, either on campus or off campus. Is it the same thing for France? Like, do you guys have student housing on campus?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Now it depends. Most schools which have student housing
Yeah.
would be public schools.
Okay.
There are public schools, and there are also the big schools of the country. They have the huge places and the spaces so they can accommodate students. Now, in my case, I went in a college, what we call in French École de Commerce,
Okay.
and it was actually a small school. It was actually a business school, I can
Okay.
call it that way. And yeah, small in the sense that it was just a building. It wasn't a campus per se. What my school could help with was the fact that they had some partners.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have third parties working with them, and those third parties will actually help accommodate students.
Okay.
Now that's what they did. So we didn't get to live in campus. Now there are also some student housing
Okay.
out of campus. Now there are certain companies who are specialized in student housing.
Okay.
So you can also reach out to them on the internet, and you have them. And the advantage of that is actually that they used to be number one, sometimes cheaper than the regular housing, but not really way cheaper because prices keep on rising. But there's also an advantage in France is that socially there are some subventions,
Okay.
at least at that time, because today
It's the
it's
different
something
story.
different. At that time, there was some subvention, and the international students could be eligible as soon as they reach
Oh,
the
wow.
territory. Yes, and yeah, they could give you a grant of up to 50% of your rent.
Jeez, that's wow.
Yeah, it was really good.
How do these guys know that they can trust you? Because you come from a different country, and then you're about to rent a house. Like, where did they oblige a specific amount to be paid? Like, let's say 6 months of rent first or something like that?
No, not really. So what happens in France is now, if I should talk about finances in general, basically at the level of the embassy, you need to have a savings account
Okay.
created in your name. Now, it might not be your own account, like bank account, but the person who insures or sponsors your
Yes.
studies has to create that savings account for you in particular. Now, at the time when I was coming, it was around 675 euros or something.
Okay.
And in that account, before they actually grant you the visa, the embassy has to make sure that you actually have 675 times 12 in the account. Now, what's the use of it is to enable you to live with that money while you
Okay.
are over there, and you receive the money monthly. They really emphasize on this, that you receive this monthly. So that's how they monitor you for your studies. Now,
Wow.
based on that amount now, to be honest, it was insufficient if you want to go with the Paris standards of living.
Okay.
But now, due to the fact that we had, as I said, the social aspect, which could cover up to 50%, sometimes
Yeah.
it was 40, 30, depends on every individual. But yeah, this is what helped a lot of students to actually be able to function with the 675 they were receiving, and also to some were finding jobs and stuff like that to actually have earn more.
Yeah.
So that was it. Now, before they give you a house to rent, now they want to be sure that you actually perceive that amount of money.
Oh. Okay.
Yes, they want to know and to be sure that you're actual students. So they
Yes.
will ask you for attestation d'education, like something that proves that you're
Yeah.
actually a
Actually, a
student
student. Yeah.
in a country, because in most cases we're student housing. And also they want to ensure that you have a sponsor. Yes, they want to ensure that a sponsor in that case is the person who is supposed to be like your collateral in case you don't pay
Okay.
your rent. And that sponsor, to be eligible, must be a resident of France.
Okay.
Number one, must earn at least 3 times the amount of your rent.
Wait. That sponsor must be a resident of France for you to use those third parties.
Yeah, for you to be eligible to rent a place, especially with the
What?
student housing. Yes, because the companies
What if
believe
you have
that
no
if
one in France?
then you can't.
So you have to figure out another way of housing.
Yes, or you should have a job, a full-time job.
How
Not
you don't have a
not
full time when you just move into France?
no. Then you can't. You need to have a sponsor, because they know that you are not a steady income earner. So they want a steady income earner to back you up in case where you'll be unable to pay. They need their money.
So if you can't go with these guys, I guess you can go with other options.
No. Now, I know of another option, but to be admitted in that case, I've heard, to be honest, I can't really dig more than that, but I've heard of another option where you could have companies acting as your sponsor. But a lot of the housing companies would not usually go for them, because sometimes, now especially in Paris, the rent is actually expensive.
Yeah.
So most of these housing companies will not go for
Yeah.
them, because I feel like the other companies who act as sponsor, they act as sponsor up to a certain threshold, and difficult to have such companies,
Okay.
afford the the Parisian rent.
I'm just surprised. That's why I'm like, okay. But going back to your experience, so you needed to find someone that was a French resident, and that made 3 times.
At least, yeah, my rent.
Wow, without the subsidy or with the subsidy, without the 50% off or with this 50% off.
Without the 50% off.
Yo, wow.
Yes.
Hey, Jeez, this is next level stuff.
Truth being told, they don't really care. Like, even to have the government grant, you have to apply for it. Now, it's not their business. If you care, you don't apply. Now,
Yeah.
now some companies will actually ask you to do apply because most students are eligible. But in case you're not eligible, they will not force you. So all
Yeah.
they need to have or to know is that you are able to pay your
Yeah.
rent at the end of the month. So they can't discard you because you're not eligible to the government grant.
Okay. Good to know. So when you find it, so you're able to reserve a place, you're able to have an apartment or a studio. So what's next for you then?
Now, when you succeed to have a studio, you have a school, you have a studio. Basically, that's what it is. Then next, you need to get acquainted with the city. You need to know everything that concerns the transportation facilities. Ooh,
Oh.
I got lost a lot.
Tell us, share us your
It's when I
stories.
reached to France that I understood what they say, that direction is more important than speed. I used to go fast, nowhere.
Okay.
You can go fast, nowhere. I understood the meaning of everything. Now, good news about me is that for my first year, I was living with my cousin.
Okay.
Now, when I reached there, so I said I reached on the 3rd, and I started on the 5th, the next Monday. And I was like, okay, I'm new in this country. Surely my cousin is going to help me and go to school at least for my first time. So that morning, I was like, okay, let's go. I got ready and I came to see her. She was working. At that time, she was working from home. And I was like, okay, how am I going to school? And stuff like that. She was like, okay. She started giving me what different stuff I had to take. And I was like, accompany me to school. She's like, no. It was so spontaneous. I promise in my heart, I was like, oh my God. So this girl is going to actually to leave me here like that. Just get lost.
Oh my goodness.
So at the end of the day, she told me she couldn't,
Yeah.
she couldn't come with me. So she just told me, take the bus. The number of the bus she gave me, 306. She gave me her card. No, she gave me a card. And also she gave me a number I have to type. So by that time I could pay a bus ticket online, and her card was attached to that. So each time I will enter the bus and pay the ticket online. The good news is she's going to be debited on her account.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing. She told me, take the bus 306. What she gave me is the direction of the bus. She didn't tell me the name. She just told me, okay, as you go out, just take the bus opposite to the, you understand? That's how I was taking my bus. And the next thing she told me, when you reach the train station, you take the train. She told me the name of the train. The name was A. She told me take the direction that goes to Paris. Then that's what I did. And my school was in Paris. And it was in one stop that was called Nation. And I left there. And that's how with Google Maps, I was able to get to school. That was the 2 to go. Up to that point is okay. Now coming back. She did not tell me, she did not specify. Like, she told me take A. She did not tell me A which direction. Now, all I knew, I don't even know. All I knew is that when I go back, I should take A. I did not care which direction I would take.
Yeah.
Technically, on my first day, I took the same direction I took as I was going. Just that the A goes through Paris and goes to another place. So I went to the end of the place before realizing that I was actually on the wrong side. So I had to get out and take now the side I was going towards where I was going to.
Wow.
And that is how I got lost, and I took back and I came. Same thing for the bus. She didn't tell me the direction. She had told me, like, say, take
That's
opposite.
wild.
But she did not tell me, be careful, you take the name of the
Yeah.
destination is this and that. So I knew that there were numbers on the buses, but I did not know that I should pay attention to the direction the bus is taking. Yes.
Ah.
And I
You learned the hard way.
Very hard way. I got lost like that. And something is that when you just come, you don't have the card. It takes some time for you to get the card that enables you to badge everyone, pass through the different controls at the transport and train stations. So basically, another thing she did not tell me is that when you buy your ticket, you keep the ticket till you reach the destination. and insert it again to come out of the. So I used to buy the ticket as soon as I pass through, I throw it or I just put it in my. No, good news about it is that where I thank my dad is that I don't throw things just easy like
Yeah.
that. I'll put it in my pocket and
And
I'll be
just
like, when I reach a dustbin, I'll throw it.
yeah.
So technically, I had it in my pocket, but I never knew that I
Yeah.
needed the ticket to pass through. So I will go to school and my pocket is full, so I'll throw it. And maybe while coming back, I have difficulties because sometimes I will take tickets which will take me from to and fro. But I don't know that when I'm coming back. I
Oh.
don't know. And sometimes when you enter, you have to take the when you buy the ticket, you have
Jeez.
to badge, which I was going to now to come out of the train station at my exit.
You
I
had
still
to.
have to use the same ticket to use to unbadge. I didn't have the ticket. At the beginning, I didn't even know I needed a ticket. So what do? I have to steal and jump and
That's what you
I
did?
became a chimpanzee. Or I pass behind somebody because I don't know what to do and I did not even know that the problem was a ticket. So I had to do it a couple of times before I
Jeez.
realized that I needed a ticket to go out. That's when I started keeping my tickets. The
Mas-
only good news was that it's only the first week that we went to school every day because of orientation and stuff like that. But later on, we did not go to school a lot
Yeah.
because when I came in October, I think mid-October like that, we had another lockdown.
Oh,
So we did a lot of our courses online.
online.
So yeah, thank God I didn't have to.
So, I mean, when you were talking about all these different issues, so one question I wanted to ask is like, so when you get to France, how did you get a SIM card?
Oh, the SIM cards.
You
So
did.
the good news is that my cousin had already prepared everything before the day I
Oh,
came. She just gave me a SIM card.
okay.
She had registered my SIM card under
Okay.
her own name. So it was her account, but there were different SIM cards.
Okay.
So I had a number as soon as I entered
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah. It's
That's
only when I was able to have my own bank account that I actually put my bank account on that
on your credit on your
on
SIM
that
card.
SIM card. Yeah, and that's when I could be on my own. But before that, she actually gave me a SIM card. But there are other ways to have a SIM card. There are
Okay.
temporary SIM card or telecom companies
Yeah.
where you can, for a start, you can have a number. Then when you have all your papers, because what I mean by papers is you have a credit card or
Yeah.
a bank account, and bank account usually can take up to a month to have.
Wait, a bank account can take up to a month? Opening the bank account? Why?
Now there are some papers you need to have up to a month in the sense that there are some papers you need to have. So basically, for the bank account, I need to have a social security
Number?
number,
Yeah.
which can take like 2 weeks
Okay.
approximately to have, or even more. Now, or at least need to have a temporary number.
Okay.
Now, the bank will not ask you for it because they know that it will take some time. But you just need a temporary
Okay.
number. You need to specify where do you live and stuff like that. You need to give information on your identity
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And yeah, then you can open a bank account.
I mean, I get that, you need to, but it won't, like, I don't think like, what took a month maybe was my debit card.
No, actually, gathering, especially social security, if you take 2 weeks, for example, to get it, now you go to the bank, make all the papers and stuff like that. The bank can take another 2 weeks to open a bank account and send you your card.
We are going to jump into different places, right? Let's go to the social security number. In America, right? In my experience, I needed a job offer to have to apply for a social security number. Is it the same thing in France?
No, you don't have. So when you enter France as an international student, you need to validate your visa actually.
Okay.
So it's on the platform of the immigration offices and they call it Ministère de l'Intérieur.
Okay.
So it's at the level of ministry which takes care of all the international people. And after that, when you validate this, now on the platform of Social Security, if I remember quite frankly, you need to give more information about your identity, number one. And secondly, you need to prove that you're a student. So it can be any document coming, like an attestation of education or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically, you need those two things, and you need to also give information about where you stay, where you live, like where you lodge. Yes, I think those are the three main things you need to in order to have at least a temporary number.
Number.
That's what you start with, and with that document, now you go and create your bank account.
Interesting. Yeah, you need a job. I mean, for international students, when I was still an international, I mean, when I yes, you need you needed a job offer to apply for that, and then because it's a unique, like you just get it one time,
And
and then
as a
once,
student, you need a job to have social security
yeah,
number.
yeah,
Wow,
yep.
wow.
I know, right? Yeah, that's when I because okay, so when I because I got you from my undergrad,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to find a job in tutoring stuff because I need like first of all when you get it, yes, you
Mm-hmm.
need a job.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay for expenses. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
your tuition is there and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You have all of the different money allowances, but you still realize that you need to start working to get more money.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how I started working, like tutoring and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But for me to be allowed to work, I needed that social security number, which is
Okay.
wow. I guess France is not that crazy. Then.
No, it's
That
not.
wow, that's crazy. So I guess because you went for a master's, your experience is going to be different. But did you get involved on any campus activities?
Honestly, no.
Okay. Is it because of the master's degree, or is it because of? I don't-
Yes. Now, back in my undergrad, I was involved in a lot of activities. It's actually in university that I started opening up
Okay.
and, you know, getting involved. Now, in France, no. During my masters, no, because there weren't actual activities in my school. It was actually a business school. We mean business.
Okay.
So technically, we'll go for classes and then that's it.
Yeah.
I remember the activity my classmates and I wanted to put in place that was specifically for international students.
Okay.
Also, not really. So we wanted to make an event. It wasn't even only international. It was actually for the whole school, or even at least on a smaller scale for our class because we
Okay.
were a good number, about 60 students. What we wanted to do is a day like an international day where we have students showcasing a lot of stuff from their country.
Country. Yeah.
Yes, so we wanted all the students because now in France we were more of French people,
Yeah.
Africans, and Asians.
Okay.
So, but now those are continents now. But we wanted to segregate it into countries. We actually drafted out some ideas and stuff. We even had a project management course and we used the idea, we leveraged it. It was really a good something.
Yeah.
But to put it in practice was something else. Like, due to the fact that we're just coming for school and we weren't really meeting up as much, to be
Okay.
honest. So that's also one reason why we did not have activities in my
In school.
in school because we were involved in what is called so in English the term is sandwich courses, but I would say in French it's called alternance.
Okay.
So my school offered this. Now it's an opportunity for you to actually get a work experience while you are still studying,
Okay.
and many companies work with that. And it is also a subvention that the government has put in place because it helps the government to ensure that the people are actually going for masters because many people I believe at some point became uninterested in their master's degrees
And
or
okay.
it was expensive.
Okay.
So what the government thought wise to do was that they will go through companies. So companies will actually recruit the people and you work for the companies and the companies will actually pay you something and the government will pay for your tuition
Okay.
at school. So it was really a win-win thing because we could work and school at the same time. Now technically you're still a student, so
Yeah.
you it was good also for companies because your your work is actually like, or will I say your pay is like 50% of a regular worker. So in a sense it's good because it's good for you because you turn to learn and get experience, though you're not paid as much as a full-time worker, which is actually normal because you
You
dedicate
are not.
part of your time back to school. So that was a good thing. The country did, or France, that's something good. Now, at the time I reached, it wasn't something that was open for the first year. Usually, it was for the second year.
Okay.
So, but the good news I had was that there was also another thing that was called stage alterné. It was actually an internship, but with the same thing
Okay.
as the actual alternance.
Alternance, sorry.
So technically, I had the opportunity to do these language courses, but that was for international students or people. Not now. What was the criteria of eligibility? You had to make at least 1 year on the territory before you become
Before you
eligible.
qualify.
So in my case, I wasn't eligible to an alternance in my first year, but I was eligible to a stage alterné. And yeah, so I could do this. Then the next year, I changed my contract into an alternance actually. So my company was flexible for
Okay.
that change. Yes, so it was actually a good experience. So that was a good thing. Now, the main difference between the stage alterné and the alternance is that stage alterné you actually pay your tuition, whereas in alternance the government does the pay.
Really?
Yes. So the
So
first
what
year
do
I
you do?
paid my tuition.
So when you were doing stage alternate, you were responsible for your tuition. But when you were doing alternance, the government paid your tuition.
Exactly.
Did you still receive any other sort of compensation like a salary?
Yes, you will still pay
So
some
in both
salary.
cases,
You receive a salary.
dang, was I supposed to go to France? I'm joking. I'm joking. So let me ask you this then: were you limited in the number of hours you could work?
Yes, as students, you are limited to a certain amount of
Is it
hours.
all students, or is it all students, or is it just international students?
No.
Because in the US, as an international student in school, I can only work 20 hours during school time. Out of school time, I can do more than 20 hours. But while I'm in school as an international student, I'm limited to 20 hours. Is it the same thing in France?
Yes. Now, to be honest, I'm international, so I just have the information for international students.
Of course,
I know we were restricted to a certain amount of hours. Now, I can't tell you if for the French nationals it was the same thing. Honestly, I don't know.
yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, cool. So during summer,
Yeah.
could you do more hours?
No, no, because every time you spend actually counts.
Okay,
You don't legally have to go above that.
okay.
You can't go
Are
above.
you limited in the type of jobs you do? I'll give an example. In America, as an international student, when I'm on campus, I mean, I can do any type of jobs, right? But during summer, I can still do any type of jobs, but I think it has to be on campus again. If I'm not mistaken, but I will keep it that way. In France, during school year, are you allowed to work off campus?
Yes, totally.
And you can do any type of job off campus.
Yeah, I think you can do any type of job so far as it's legal.
Okay.
Yes, you can do. There are two things you have to respect: the legal aspect of the thing and ensure that you don't go above the hours you have to work.
You have to
Yes.
work. That's crazy. In America, you don't. I mean, when school starts, you are just there for school. School, and you can do your on-campus job. Of course, you have to maintain this 20 hours, and that's it. Jeez. Maybe I should have gone to this. I'm joking. Wow, but that's very interesting. So when you do these different types of jobs, my next question for you is: does these different alternatives help in your job search?
Yes.
Because as you are doing these different jobs, of course, you're building your CV. So when it's almost time for you to graduate, do these companies want to hire you?
Yes, in most cases, it's very good because if they have an open position,
Yeah.
they will hire you. Now, in my company, we were three alternants, and I was the second who came in. Now, the unfortunate thing about me is that the guy who was there before me was the one who was hired, actually.
Okay.
One thing because he had more experience, and another thing is because he ended his school year before me. So the position was open. He could be hired in a full-time position, and that was the only open position. Now it wasn't so bad also because I was looking into something bigger
Bigger.
for my career too. I liked the company, but fair enough, I was looking for something big. So in one sense, I was a little bit disappointed because I really liked the environment,
Yeah.
but I had to leave.
Yeah.
And in another sense, it was a good thing because it gave me the opportunity to go into another bigger company. So
How is the job search as an international student in France?
it's not funny.
Why?
It's not funny at all. Now, the as I said, the alternance is a beautiful thing because it helps you to
Get experience.
build an international portfolio or a portfolio in France.
Yeah.
It's difficult for us to leverage, especially
Yep.
students coming from Africa, to leverage on our experiences because you
Ooh.
know that we had internships
Yeah.
back in our places. In I had internships in a bank, and I had internships in
Yeah.
other
Institutions.
institutions and companies, but sometimes they believe that maybe they are fake, and
Yeah. I see.
even if they want to believe that it is true, they feel like they are limited on how much they can leverage on that, like they are limited on because the country is not France. Actually, they feel like they cannot really
They cannot really source check. They cannot check
exactly.
that to confirm, oh, you actually did. Because I actually did have the same experience where
Mm-hmm,
most of my experience was in Cameroon,
mm-hmm,
and then when I was asked to enter my experience, luckily I was able to get more experience on campus, even
mm-hmm,
though they were not field specific.
mm-hmm,
But I felt like because they were able to have a reference that they can call,
mm-hmm.
it helped me get some jobs when I was done with school. But my experience back home, who are they gonna call Cameroon? No.
Exactly. Exactly. Now that was the fact, especially when you do not work for a multinational,
Hmm.
because we had so many local companies. In my case, I worked for several local companies, but because they did not have this international exposure, it was difficult. So the good news about the alternance is that you actually have an on-ground
Yeah.
experience. Now, also to find an alternance is not easy because
Yeah.
you still have the Cameroonian or the African, or even, let me not just be restricted to Africa, actually. I think that maybe other people coming from Asia too had the same experience. And now, if you have experience out of France in particular, if you stay in Europe or American experience, I
Hmm.
feel like they can leverage on that somehow.
Yes.
Also, I will not blame them because the context or the business
Environment
environment
is
or
completely
climate is,
different.
yeah, if you, for example, in the French environment is actually similar to Germany, to
Yep.
Italy, to other European countries, so they share
It's the
some
same
values.
European zone.
Exactly. So you coming out of this zone,
Yeah.
they don't actually have the proof that you can do anything. So the alternance is good because they don't expect a lot from you because they know that you're a student and they will train you. That was the good news.
Interesting.
Now, yeah, it took me some time honestly before I could find that, but yeah, I could find that finally. And I was actually fortunate because due to the fact that I wasn't eligible to an alternance, but rather a
Yeah.
stage alternate, I knew a couple of people who couldn't find a stage alternate too. So they were forced to pay their tuition and not earn anything on the side.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
That's
basically,
crazy.
hmm so basically, the alternance I had or the sandwich courses I was making with that company actually helped me to have
So it's
a
not
new
given.
job.
It's not just because you apply that you will get a stage alternate or
No,
an
no, no. You
alternate.
have to. It's actually like a job search. We actually, I was even wondering that I'm just coming for an internship. Why would you ask me? My process in that company was like it was in 5 times. I had to meet HR. After HR,
Wow.
you have to meet somebody from accounting, one person. Then you have to meet two people from accounting. Then you had
Jeez.
to meet the CFO. Then after the CFO, you had to meet a lot of people. They gave you a business case to solve.
Interesting.
Oof, it was
Jeez.
hectic.
Wow.
So to say, whether you're going for any kind of position,
Yeah.
it's as tough. The
It's really
process
tough.
is tough. It's like you were going for a real position, but obviously, as a student, they won't expect a lot from you. But it wasn't. It was just long, but it wasn't difficult. I would say the process was just long. But it was not difficult in the sense that they'll ask you a few basic questions because they want to ensure that you have a certain level of understanding and comprehension of stuff.
So when I was done with my undergrad, I had to apply within within I think within 4 months of my graduation time. I had to apply for my optional practical training,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty much a work permit, which gives me permission to work once I'm done. Right? I- Is it the same thing in France? Do you have to apply? I mean, I guess you have to apply for your work permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could
So,
yes.
so technically, the company, if you now there are two things. Those who are not fortunate after their studies, after
Yeah.
their student visa has to expire, to have a company to work for, there's what they call APS. So it's a temporary visa which helps you to stay for a year. They give you
Okay.
a whole year to find a job, a permanent job.
APS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They give you 1 year to find a permanent job in
Okay.
your field, and if you succeed, fine. Now, what happens is that for those, for example, in my case, I succeeded to have a full-time job immediately as I left my previous company. I left as I finished school. I could find a full-time job. What happens is that the company is going to, when they hire you, they are going to apply for a work authorization for you. And when they succeed to have a work authorization, they'll give you the document, and now you apply in your own city council for a residence permit.
Jeez.
So yes, you can have a residence permit, and that enables you to. The work authorization actually enables you to work, and the residence permit enables you to stay in France.
How
Now,
long are these
now,
documents?
yes. So depending now on the salary you make. Now there's a threshold. Today the threshold it keeps on climbing. Today the threshold is about
Euros?
€42,500. And if you are above that threshold, you have what is called passport talent, and it gives you straight 4 years. And also you have the ability to bring somebody else. For example, those who are married, they can bring in their spouse. Yeah, I don't even think you actually need to marry the person. Anyway, you have this ability. There are more or
Dang.
less a few advantages. Yeah, based with that, a few advantages on that.
Wait, you just have to make above 42,000 euros?
Yeah, for
I mean,
two
I'm
thousand
just
five
saying
hundred.
just, but I guess it's a.
It's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot because
Quand
the
2000 euros.
average student coming out from school now will earn, based on the industry or the field of studies,
Yeah.
will earn between, that is a master student will earn between 35,000, that is average student.
Hey.
Yeah, will earn between 35,000 and yeah, the 43K.
Okay, I
We're
guess.
talking about fresh graduates.
Yeah,
Or
entry
I can
level.
even go to 45 because some industries pay more than others. But the average student, that is
Yeah, entry level. Yeah, I guess.
entry level, is
Yeah.
35 to 45.
Okay.
Now, those who are at the biggest end are the fewest people. Passport airline is from 42,000. So those who are above should be the fewest, and
Interesting.
the most population are under 40,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. I mean, good to know. So, when you are looking for a job in America, when your work permit is approved, I think if I'm not mistaken, you have up to 60 days or 90 days to find a job. Past 90 days,
You vamos.
you choose what you decide to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
But past those 90 days, if you can't find a job,
Mm.
you either go back to school or you do whatever. I mean, or you go back to your home country, but you guys don't have that in France. So if my visa in France is 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm done with school, and then I still have a year left on my visa, I have a year to find a job. And then when that year expires, I can then apply again for APS.
No, 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 no. It's okay. You have your student visa.
Mm-hmm.
Why on your student visa you can apply for a job, and if you don't find a job, Yeah, when your student visa finishes, usually your student visa is will finish as soon as your school finish.
Ah,
Yeah, or maybe usually it should be 3 months later or stuff like
okay.
that.
Oh, okay.
So as you see, if at least 3 months before the end of your student visa, you have to apply for the APS.
Je vois si tu es en danger.
Clairement.
Wow.
Yes, clearly. So you have to apply for the APS, which gives you 1 year to find
Okay.
a job.
And then once that APS is over, after the whole year, if you don't have a job,
Yeah, you need to exit.
you need to go.
You take the door.
You take the door. Wow. You have a job, everything cool. How was, I think, I guess I should have asked this question before, but how was your integration in the French culture? Like, yes, you are I mean, you live in the francophone part of Cameroon, but going to France, I guess there's a cultural shock.
Yes.
Oh no.
There is obviously.
What was your
There
cultural
is.
shock when you got to France?
So there was the good and bad. Good and very good was the fact that every single time you pass through a road sign and stuff like that, people will be nice. People will be like, "Oh, désolé, ça va, bonjour." They'll be really polite. Those people are really polite.
Really?
Yes, they're really polite, and it was really good to really enter in a room and people will actually be welcoming. Not to say my people are not welcoming. I don't want to shade anybody, but we know ourselves. We have other ways of being welcoming, but those people is really automatic,
Okay.
and it was really nice. And yeah, the people are outgoing and they really like to know more about yourself,
Okay.
like where do you come from and stuff like that. So it was really good. So that was a good aspect. Another thing, I got to know about the French cuisine.
Huh.
Yes, most especially the pastry side.
Okay.
Like they love luxury.
Yeah.
French is actually the capital of luxury. So I got to learn how to know or to use certain utensils when
Alright.
I'm at the table. The French way, they have a glass for every kind of wine. They have cutlery for every kind of food. So you have to be attentive to stuff like that, especially when you go to a
Events.
5-star restaurant and stuff like that. You really need to pay attention to some codes, conduct codes. So it was really nice. I get to taste also the French cuisine. Now, to be honest, being from an African background and spicy background, I find that the food is not as spicy as we used to like.
Yeah.
But then there are some food stuff which don't actually need to be spicy, which are also good. And yeah, so that is another very good aspect I really enjoyed about being in France.
Yeah.
Was the food side of it, and also the wine. You have good wine.
Yeah, they do have good wine.
Yeah.
They do have good wine. Yeah. They do have good wine.
I'm not the best person in terms of drinks or alcohol, but I get to taste a couple of wine and it was really good. Yeah, so that was it. And yeah, there's certain things that they do, like the way of doing things on planning. It's actually quite interesting. Yeah, and all the energy they put into details. French people are really
it's all about the details.
Luxury. They believe that everything resides. The details make the difference. So it was really beautiful. The other side of the cultural shock I had was now this is not me being judgmental or bashing any kind of person, but where I come from, for example, having people who smoke. Literally, when you pass through someone who smokes, it was like, first of all, it was not well seen, especially when it came to, even if you're a grown up somebody, if you're a grown up man.
I see. Yeah, we have this where we come from. We have this perception that smoking, it's a stereotype.
It's a stereotype.
That smoking is associated with bad thing. Smoking with a bad life.
Yeah, it's a bad image
It's a
actually.
bad image. Yeah, where
Yeah, but that is for those who smoke the cheap ones. When somebody holds a cigar, he becomes
a
a king. He becomes a
luxury.
luxury. You understand?
The cheap. But I see what you're smoking. You like you were in an environment where smoking was not seen as something that's normal or that's something that everybody does. And then you go to France and
Literally, everybody smokes.
yeah.
Like they don't even say post cafe again. They say post club. So technically, is a break smoke.
Yeah, just smoke. Yeah.
So to tell you how much cigarette
It's
is going above,
it's the same
going
thing in America.
is going above coffee, and that I was shocked. But my first shock was the fact that one day I went to school. I had a class in the afternoon, and I get to school. I see a bunch of students and even lecturers are smoking in front of the school campus, and nobody.
It's
It wasn't
bothered.
alarming.
Yeah.
Everybody's unbothered. Like I was like, the lecturer can be there and like, okay, do you have fire? Fire?
You feel that?
It was so shocking, and I was like, man, where are we? Literally in Cameroon,
It's
is bad.
It is.
Literally, they would chase you and stuff like that. And in that case, I was literally shocked. And especially in Paris, what I would say is actually what I say, my experience is mostly Parisian.
Yeah.
When you go through the streets, you see so many cigarettes on the floor and stuff like that. So it was really irritating for me. And being somebody, I'm intolerant to tobacco and all the nicotine and stuff like that present in the cigarettes. So to stay in an environment where everybody's just smoking, and no, it was difficult at the beginning. Now I'm still not used to, but at least I know how to navigate around it.
That's interesting.
And not
That's an
seem
interesting
to be
perspective.
judgmental to.
Yeah.
But I
I don't
just
think
find a
it's
way to.
judgmental. I think it's you come from a background and it's a different. You come from a different culture. It's just different, and then now you just come to something like, oh, okay, oh, this is your culture. So it's not like now you tend to adjust the culture. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
Exactly. So this was one of the cultural shocks I had. It was oof. And another thing. Now, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Like you know how in Africa, I would say, we really take care of the authorities. We really see authorities as,
Yes, respect, especially in Cameroon. I mean, in Cameroon,
I would say for Cameroon because that's what I know. We actually see our lecturers as there. We actually have a lot of respect for those who are above us.
Yeah.
Now, I would say the kind of leadership is like that, is vertical.
Yeah.
I must say. Now, when you get to an environment where the leadership is more of horizontal, not to say that they don't have respect for the authorities and stuff like that, but the way they navigate it is different. Like, for example, in Cameroon, there will be a lot of all I would say titles.
Yes,
before anybody's name, especially when it comes to a lecturer, Mr. This, Madame that, and stuff like that. In France,
you just call him,
it's not bad to call him by his name. Now you can say Mr. and stuff like that, but now I'm speaking about mostly for companies.
Yeah.
In school, yes, you still keep the Mr. and Madame, but in companies, you can call somebody by his last name. And to me, it was shocking. Like, how can you be above me and I call you by your last name? It was difficult. It was very difficult.
Even here is the same thing. Like, I like, even my supervisor, they're like, why are you always calling me sir? And I'm just like, I've been grown to that. This is what I know. Like, some they just call by my first name. It's fine. I'm like, sure, but it doesn't sound right.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't.
Sound right
because you feel like not putting this title is like disrespecting
I'm disrespecting the person. It's so funny, but that's true. It's so funny, but that's true. When you got to France, what was the first thing that amazed you? Did you have any like, oh my God, this is France? Oh, well, you're like, oh, when I came to America,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this is America. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, America, this is you? Wow. No, I guess I was just like, oh, okay, this is America, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then that was it. Even when I went to visit different places, yeah, I I don't think I've not yet been amazed.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I
I don't mean to disappoint,
don't think no, I don't think
but
so.
when I got to France, I wasn't I wasn't particularly impressed.
Okay, fair enough.
I think what played a lot in this is the fact that today we have technology, we have social media. So literally, though we might not have taken a plane before, we literally already know a lot of things about the other countries.
Yeah,
Now, France in particular, I was like, okay, things look bigger, things look more modern and stuff like that. But that was it. I
yeah.
wasn't particularly amazed. Matter of fact, I arrived in October and I went to visit the Tour Eiffel and stuff like that only in March.
Wow, interesting.
So one reason was that okay, I'm in Paris. There's no rush. There's no fire on the mountain. Another reason was that places were too cold. So
Yeah,
anytime I had a possibility not to go out, I wouldn't because the
there was
cold
there was no
was
sense of
unbearable.
urgency to go
Exactly.
see it.
So, and I must say, it is the day I actually went to visit those historical and touristic sites that I was like, okay, this is it. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I took pictures and stuff like a tourist would do. But honestly, that was it.
Okay.
Instead, the place where I was like, wow, was actually America because I think it's mostly because of the movie industry.
Okay.
It's undeniable. Hollywood is top, is number
Yeah.
one, and I actually saw this with America because they have this ability to sell their country and the tourism via
Yeah.
their movies, and I think that is what actually impacted me. So when I came out, whenever I saw I don't know, when I saw an ambulance, I was like, okay, is this not an episode of this? When I saw a police car,
NYPD.
yeah, I was in New York, I saw this. I mean, there are a lot of things like you get to relate with a lot of American
Yeah.
series and stuff like that. That's what actually gave me that wow effect. Okay, maybe it's also because I came to America as a tourist. Yeah, maybe
too.
that counts too because I'm like, okay, I'll see this, then I will not see it anymore till I come back. But yeah, I was actually wowed by a lot of things. I think I used to bother those who hosted me. I was like, oh, this is this. Oh, I like this. I thought at some point they were more like tired of me, but it's really something because actually when I see something, I'm like, I've seen this before, and this is it.
Yeah.
So the place where I had that
Interesting.
experience was here in America.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I want also. There are two topics I want us to talk about before we let you go back to France. Was it easy for you to integrate those communities?
Now, by community, I guess you're talking about nationals like Cameroonians or
Yeah.
African community at
African
large.
communities or Cameroonian?
Yeah, I remember when when I arrived there, they were like, let me not over get involved in my community or at least choose the people with whom I work.
Okay.
So that's what I actually did. Now, to be honest, I don't have like a community of Cameroonians or stuff where I get to hang out with
Yeah.
or have a jangi, as we could call it. No, I don't have one. But I get to interact with the community still through my social activities,
Yeah.
like my religious gathering. So we have a lot of Cameroonians there. And now it's good in the sense that at least in church, you know that everybody has a certain moral
Mm-hmm.
stability, at least on the Sundays. Now, what people do about their weeks, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, and I also get to have a few friends.
Okay.
Some I met back in Cameroon, and some I met here in there in France.
Maybe you want to stay.
some I met in France too, but yeah, I don't have like a big community. But now there are events where I really want to feel the community.
Hmm.
Like lately, before I travel, there's this AFCON going on. We went for our match with Senegal. It was actually in a no, in a Cameroonian restaurant. It was good. We wore our jerseys. It was really nice. The
Yeah.
ambience was everything. We lost the match. We lost to
I,
Senegal, but it was a great experience because
yeah.
you get to see a lot of people. Plus, we had our good food. It was really good, and to have all those people around, it was good.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's actually good sometimes to go and meet up,
Yeah.
go with your people, but not all the time because you left your country is also for a reason. You want to have an international experience.
Yeah.
So you need to find a way to balance this. You can hang out with people from your place and you
Yeah.
can hang out with internationals too because the aim is to broaden your mind.
I think you said something at the I mean, you said something at the beginning that
Mm-hmm.
summarizes this topic of
Mm-hmm.
integration. Choose the people you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Not you shouldn't, and this is even a good principle in life.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't work with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's some facts. You have to know who you work with, and that will help you, whether they're from your community or not. It's always very smart to know who you work with,
Exactly.
and that will dictate where you're heading to in life. Like this, it doesn't make any sense to just be a sheep
Mm-hmm.
and just follow everybody. No, you have to be smart. You have to be a lion, indomitable lion.
Okay. And you were talking about being humble.
I am humble.
Oh, okay. The,
You know-
the Cameroonian is coming
Hey,
out.
please, I'm professional, okay? This is but you have to be smart. And this is for any international what it doesn't matter which country you're going to, you as you said it, there's a reason for you to be where you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you left your country, there's a specific reason why you left your country. We are all on a mission. No matter what the mission is, we are all on a mission, and we need to make sure that we achieve our purpose. Like I was talking to a friend of mine who was like, our parents sacrificed a lot for us to be where we are. And it's our responsibility, it's our duty
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that our kids don't have to be where we are because we have to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
If your parents are in Cameroon and they made you go to France, you have to keep moving.
To where?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. But the dream, I think the worst fear of a parent is to see your kids go through what they went through.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I didn't do anything in my life.
Yes.
It's like I didn't do shit. So my kid is just where I was.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to make sure we keep moving forward. We have to make sure we keep accomplishing not just your dream, but develop our dream and keep on with the torch.
Yes. We actually need to make sure that we do more than them.
Yeah.
Yes. My father used to tell me that, not me only, my siblings and I, that exactly his greatest achievement is to see us do better than
Yeah.
he did and my mom did. And that's what he said, be it in school wise, career wise, any aspect of life. And he said he actually, when he was speaking about it, he was speaking on his own perspective. He said, my dad my dad taught me that it's my responsibility to do better than he did. And also it's on us today, we are the new parents, to do better
Yeah.
than our parents did, and it's actually very important. Now, to come back to the part of movement
Okay.
movement is, to me, movement is actually movement. Now,
Okay. Okay, this is something new. Guys, if you didn't know, movement is actually movement. Thank you.
no, I'm being in a sense that now moving forward everybody has its definition of moving forward.
Mhm.
Now, doing better than my parents did is not necessarily being in France. France is just another country,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
being
yeah, yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
being
yeah, yeah.
America is just another country.
Yes.
Now, but the objective, I just wanted to ensure the objective is just that to do better than our parents,
Yes, that's so
no
true.
matter the place where
No
we
matter where
are.
we are,
Exactly. Even
yeah.
if
Even
we are
if
still in Cameroon or we decide
yes,
to migrate in Cameroon,
yes,
it keeps the fact is that we need to keep moving
yeah.
and yeah.
Like yes, yes. Maybe that's a good nuance. Yeah, it does. Doing better doesn't mean you live in a different country. Doing
Exactly.
better means you accomplish something
Better
better
and
that
bigger
or
too.
bigger, yeah, that they did not. Which leads me to this then. Homesickness.
Ooh,
How at what point did you realize or at what point did you feel homesick?
the first day
The
I
first day?
landed.
Hey mama.
Now, what you should know is that I love my country so bad, so
I
good.
know.
I
Don't
don't know
even
what to say.
like
So
trust
bad,
me.
so good, but I love my country in a sense that it was difficult for me to actually migrate.
Mm,
I migrated because I had to think a lot. I was like, okay, initially I didn't want to migrate. So obviously I was to be honest, when I had my A levels, which is what grants us access to the university,
yeah.
I wanted to migrate and go to either Europe or America and stuff like that. But as the time went on, I went to Buea. I had a sweet life there. My perspective changed, and traveling was no more
Okay.
in my mind. Now traveling came back in my mind because the cousin where I actually stayed as I went to France, I got to France. She was like, okay, she wanted to give back. In a way because our parents are the ones who sponsored her and other of our
Yeah.
cousins and siblings to go to Europe. So she was like, okay, I am over there. I want to sponsor somebody else. So I was fortunate to be this person
She
she
sponsored.
chose. Yeah. Now, sponsored in a sense because she gave me a shelter
Mm-hmm.
in my first year, which
Yeah.
is not
It's
it cannot be taken for granted
no.
if you see the Parisian rent prices. So she was like, okay, I have this space and I can give you the ability at least to come, so you can be living rent
Yeah.
free. Understand, until you get on your feet and be able to move by
Be on
yourself.
your own, yeah.
Yes, so that's how she gave me this possibility, and I was like, okay, I have this advantage and stuff like that. That is actually what made me to leave the country. And now I had to think, and I was like, okay, some people don't have the ability to travel, and so they are forced to stay. In a sense, it's not actually bad, but you having an international experience is also good because you tend to know what other people do
Yeah.
around the world. So that is how I convinced myself to actually leave Cameroon.
Okay.
I will not say my situation was the best in the country, but I believed in a better future. I was like, okay, definitely find a good job and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And yeah, I was actually in process with a bank at that time. So I was like, okay, I can have a good job over there. In my mind, traveling was not more that of an option like it used to be maybe 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
before. Now that is how I traveled. So technically, leaving the country wasn't all of that. Now, if I had to choose, I wouldn't have traveled. Now, when I tell you it was on the first day, it was definitely on the first day. Because, as I said, I had my visa on the Monday and I traveled on
On the
the Friday.
Friday. Yeah.
You know how we are. You cannot tell goodbye to people anyhow. You have to choose,
What to
select,
say,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And you can also tell goodbye to people when you don't have the visa in your hand because it's still a risk.
You
They
never
can
know.
deny you the
Yeah.
visa. So in that case, when I had the visa, I didn't have the time to say my
Say goodbye.
goodbye to my country. And for me, it was difficult. So I left like that. I didn't say, I said goodbye to a few people, but you know, first of all, you're going against your will in some
Yeah.
sense. I was like, okay, I'm going to have an international experience and come back. That's how I used
Yeah.
to kind of make it make sense in my mind, but my heart really did not want to leave.
Yeah.
And coupled with the fact that the campus fan stuff came very late, and due to the fact that as well I had to travel immediately because flights were restricted.
Yep.
So I had to travel. If I hadn't traveled at that date, I would have traveled maybe
Some of the time.
some other time, and they were threatening for
Yeah.
a new
Lockdown.
lockdown. So anyway, as I landed in Paris, I was like, okay, that's Paris. Okay, nice. Okay, good. The airport is beautiful, blah blah blah, and that was it. But immediately, now we went through the city. I was like, okay, beautiful, nice. Then we went my sister's place and stuff like that. It was also good, but as I laid on my pillow, I was like, oh, I miss my country. I miss everything. It's a new environment. Everything is new. You're questioning yourself. Did I do the right choice and stuff like that? So I was homesick from the first day.
Dang. Did you feel like you had to start over again?
Exactly. I felt like I haven't built anything because be it in Buea or in Douala where I stayed before leaving, I had already built a good social circle. I had my life going on. I was, as I said earlier, a makeup artist. So I could have, aside from my job, I could have a side hustle, which was makeup. I was okay with my life. Now I'm coming into a new environment. First of all, places are cold. I hated that fact. Another thing, you don't know anybody. A lot of things change. So I wasn't the excited one. Oh, I've traveled. No, no.
Yay.
Honestly, no. I wasn't the excited type. In my mind, I was like, I was never ready to travel, and now I have to deal with that. And even when I was going to school, I mean, I had to put up with the face because okay, I got to do what I came here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I was like, okay, I have a limited amount of time. Sooner I do it, and the faster I do it, the earlier I leave, and stuff like that. So that was my perception when I
Yeah.
arrived. And yeah, coupled with the fact that I was going to school only 2 days per week, and the rest of the time I wasn't doing anything. So as they say, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. He worked in my mind. But then anyway, so what I tried to do, I tried to find jobs like regular student jobs, like with restaurants and stuff like that. I applied and reapplied. One thing that didn't work was the fact that it was a lockdown. But I was like, okay, I will still go and apply. Sometimes I'll go physically with
Mm-hmm.
print a physical CV and go. And I was like, okay, the lockdown is not going to be forever. It's going to reopen and stuff like that. But I was never called. So let's say I reached in October and I finally found my internship or my stage alternate in April.
Mm.
Actually, in March. I started in April. Yeah.
Depression hits in.
Ooh, in that gap. Yeah, it actually did. Because when you start being homesick, I never really felt at home. The only place I actually maybe felt at home was when I was actually indoors, like in the house. But when I step out, when I want to go to the shop, that's when I realized that, okay, I'm not more in my country. I'm somewhere else. I have to adapt and stuff like that. So at the beginning, I didn't actually see the beauty of being out of my country, actually. Because I was not used to the. I mean, that was going to be my new normal, and I wasn't
Mm.
ready for that.
When you go through this period,
Mhm.
it's difficult. Do you feel like you want to give up?
You want to give up, oh? Then where will you give up? You don't have time to give up because mama, mama must hustle.
What do you mean you don't have to? You can give up. You choose to give up.
No, I didn't have the choice to give up
What you we all why? What do you mean you didn't have the choice to
because
give
I
up?
came for my studies and my studies were expensive, so I had to produce results. All I had to do is get acquainted. Now, I get that everything about mental health and stuff like that. But in that case, no, I feel like I could balance. It was not that bad. I could still manage my studies and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I wanted an alternance or a stage alternance so badly. So as soon as I came and maybe like 1 week later, I started applying for jobs and stuff like that. But I couldn't find, especially also because I had done a BSc in accounting, and instead I came to France. I was actually doing marketing,
Mm.
and France is not really open to this kind of changes. For them, if you could have like worked in your field since, I mean, your
Yeah.
birth, you have been better, because the more you have experience, the better.
The better for them. Yeah.
So me going to apply for having a technically an accounting background
Background
or
and then applying for
experience, then
marketing.
applying for marketing
Like
positions.
this girl doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah, that's how it looked like. But in my mind, I was like, no, instead, they're going
Everything
to.
made sense in your head.
Yes, for me, I was like, okay, it's going to be good because they can put me at the budget or something. For me, in my mind, it was like, instead, it's an added advantage because because I have knowledge of the numbers, I
Yeah.
can know how to run a campaign and stuff like that. And plus, it was an alternance, a stage alternate. So technically, I would have been trained on the job.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. But it was difficult to find. So basically, from October, since I came to December, it was difficult for me to find anything. So I went through depression, but that was in November. That was in November.
Was it your is, was it the first time you realized you were depressed?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I put the word depression on it, because back in Cameroon too, there sometimes had lows, but I
You
mean,
never thought of that.
yeah, it did not last very long, like for a long time. So I did not really tag it as depression. It was like, okay, I'm just in a bad mood, or I'm going through
I'll
it,
be fine.
or I'm going through a lot, and I'll be fine. At least I have good food. I have this. I mean, especially as when you're in Cameroon, you're with family and stuff like that. Even if you want even to be depressed, you cannot, because they will call you for X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
or you do this, or you do that, or you meet these people. You always,
And you don't live.
I was not alone in
And
Cameroon.
you don't live in an environment where, in my experience in Cameroon, we don't think depression is real.
Okay.
That's my experience in Cameroon. Like the relationship between depression and life, depression don't for my it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's true.
You can have lows, but you cannot come up to your parents and say I'm depressed. They'll be like, "Excuse me, what is that? Are you no, like for real?" That's a thing. That's my experience.
Yeah,
Where
it's true.
so when you come to this culture where they're like, hey, there's something called mental health. When you have mental health in community, it's like you're crazy.
Extend it to Jamo.
No, seriously, we don't talk about things like that. We don't like maybe some families do it, but in my experience, you won't come to your parents and talk, hey, I have some mental health issues.
Yes, because now I don't think it's actually really specific to Cameroon, but it's an African way of
I mean,
thinking.
because I don't want to generalize it. I just want to stick to if they
To
are
what you know.
exactly. If there are other people that want to share your opinion here,
They're free.
let us know.
Okay.
But in my experience in Cameroon, depression, I can't see myself going to say, hey, mom, I'm depressed.
Yes, for them it's just like you're being lazy and stuff like that. Yes.
But as we grow up, as we come to these different places, we have a different relationship with depression.
Yeah.
And I guess it hits you when you're by yourself and you're like,
Yeah, when you're by yourself, it actually does hit you. Now, in my case, it hit really hard because I was like, especially in my case, it was caused by the fact that I encountered failure. At the beginning, I used to have difficulties with failure. Like, the kind of student I wasn't the toppest of the class, but I mean, I was doing good.
you were, yeah.
So I always passed my courses. I've not really encountered a lot of failures before. So being in an environment where I have this difficulty to find a job, and I knew that though I had my allowance I was receiving every month, I wanted to be very independent as fast as possible. I gave myself a limit of 1 year, then I leave my cousin's place. But she was able to keep me as long as 2 years, even up to 3. when I have a permanent job, like that's what she
Yeah.
had in mind, then I can move and be on my own because I will earn enough to have my own place. But in my mind, I was like, I want to leave as fast as possible. Number one, also because I like to be on my own. Like
Because
that's the
you
truth.
come literally because after high school you went to college, you were by yourself.
I
So
was
now
by
you have
myself.
to
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I want to be
you.
by myself again.
So it's like, okay, you live in Buea by yourself. You started a couple of businesses in Buea. You were successful. Now you come to France, and it's like your whole empire crumble. You have to. It feels like I have to start all over again.
Yes, and I was really happy about the generosity she had,
Yeah,
but
of course.
I wanted to be as independent as possible, not having, for example, that's the reason why I actually wanted to find something, because I don't want my parents to pay this large amount of money for 2 years. So I in my mind I was
You
like,
wanted to move fast.
yes, I wanted to really to move fast, and not having a job make everything slow, and I hated that. And for me, it became like
It changed your perspective.
my perspective of myself. It was like I am a failure. I'm unable to get a new job.
Ooh,
That's how I saw it.
jeez.
And to me, I was so hard on myself because now my father is the person that instilled this hardworking spirit in us.
Yeah.
And it was easy when you don't succeed, but he did not teach us, or my parents in general did not teach us to handle failure.
Ooh.
In Africa, if you're failed, there's nothing
Failure is
else.
not. Yeah, failure is the last
It's
thing that could
because you're
happen.
lazy.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to
You
explain
cannot
around
justify failure.
Yes. So that's how it sounded to me, because I had no relationship with failure. I did not know how to deal with failure. So at that point, that was my one of my biggest failures. And plus, I did not have my usual social circle. I knew a few people in Paris, but they were busy, or they already had a life for themselves. They had come before me, so they either had a job or
It's fast
something.
paced.
Exactly. So in my case, I had nothing. I had to figure out a lot of things. So that's what happened to me. But the good thing I must say is that it's also I wasn't busy because I had the time. If I was like schooling 5 days, I don't think I'll have the time to get depressed too. But because I didn't have anything going
I
on,
think so. I think you will still be depressed, but you won't have the time to acknowledge its
yes, or to
presence.
overthink, because I can be an
Exactly.
overthinker. If I'm not getting myself busy on something, I can overthink something and even think a situation is worse than it actually is.
So how did you overcome this period? Like how did you overcome all of what was going on during this time?
The first thing, I decided to go back to what I did before. So going back to accounting
Okay.
for my master's. And the good news about my business school is that we had what is called rentrée décalée. So we could have January entries. And that was good. So I told them that I want to move back into accounting. They had me interviewed a little bit. And yeah, they accepted me into January this courses. So I went back into accounting.
Yeah.
Why? Because I felt like, okay, this is what they want. I'm going to give it to them. And yeah, I'll find a job as soon as possible. And anyway, I came here to find a job. I came here to learn and also to have a professional experience. So what's the point schooling and not having the professional experience to back it up? Because one thing that actually makes the difference between France and Cameroon, at least on the courses I chose,
Yeah.
was more of the practical side of it, the environment.
Yeah.
If it's about the lessons and courses that if many universities in Cameroon which could teach me exactly the same thing, but I came here in France to actually have a taste of how the economy works and have a hands-on experience of the course. So that's the first thing I decided to do. So the whole of December, I was dedicated to go back to accounting. Then the next thing I did, honestly, I prayed to God. I cried to God because I couldn't explain this to my family. I don't want to bother them. I was like, okay, I don't want them thinking that things are bad. Especially they are far, you are far. I will not keep my mother worried. She will call me every single minute. How are you doing today? And stuff like that. I don't want that. So I spoke to a few people actually two people, and they were all my friends. And yeah, I discussed with them. Both of them were in Cameroon, by the way. I don't know, for some reason I don't want to bother people
That were closer
that
to
were
you. Oh,
closer to me.
jeez.
Except when we meet, I will
Okay.
tell them about my stuff. But I won't make it come out as depression. For example, I will tell my friend, okay, it's difficult for me to find a job. Can you recommend me, or what do you think is
You wouldn't go
lacking
into the
in
details.
my CV and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I will ask them a few questions, but I will not tell them that I'm depressed. If you see it, fine. But if you don't see it, yeah. But the good news is that I didn't stay there for long. It was like a week. I wasn't depressed for more than a week because, in a sense, you cannot sleep because you're overthinking things. You're having things at the back of your mind and stuff like that. So I remember on the Sunday, I told God that, why am I supposed to be depressed? Like, I cannot be a daughter of God. I'm not depressed like that. I said, Jesus, take care of everything. And that's how I became loose. And honestly, things became better. I wasn't seeing things the same way. I was still applying our stuff, getting prepared for my interviews and stuff
It
like
was a
that.
different mindset.
But the mindset was totally different. And even when I had my stage alternate, it was really something
Yeah.
good because I had a lot of my mates who did not have anything going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I technically overcame this.
Looking at where you come from, looking at where you are today, what would you tell someone that comes to you for advice?
Is that make mistakes? Get used to failure. Honestly, take risk. I've heard a lot of people saying it. I'm the one saying it. But yes, because you don't learn anything from your comfort zone. And that's the first thing I would tell somebody, or my younger self, to take a risk as early as possible, because this is the time to make mistakes. Actually, we get to learn from it. We are still young. The older we get, it's difficult to cancel the mistakes and stuff like that. So this is the period. If you have any mistakes you want to make, now I'm not saying that you see mistake and go into mistake, no, but take risk. At the end of the day, if it's a mistake, at least you know that, okay, you learn from that and stuff like that. So that is actually what I'm going to tell somebody in any situation. Now, I won't tell the person how to avoid being depressed, no, but I would just tell the person, don't be comfortable in your depression.
Ooh.
Yes, because I just thank God that it's at the limit of my comfort that I decided to leave it. Some people get so comfortable with depression that they don't mind anymore. Like, they just like it. I mean, they don't, for them, happiness has become a myth. They don't believe into happiness anymore. So I would say don't get comfortable, because exactly when you have highs and lows, in life we usually have lows. Sometimes, we're stressed by one or two things, but actually put things together in such a way that we can mitigate the level of stress we go through. Or maybe if we are stressed, we need to have a routine. For religious people or spiritual people, you go to God directly. The others.
I mean,
The others, I mean, you obviously have something that works for you. I honestly can tell for other people, but they should have. I mean, not everybody's depressed, not everybody's religious, so they obviously have something that works for them. But one thing also is to diversify what you do. Never leave your mind idle, because if your mind is idle, you overthink a lot of things. So even if you have a lot of things not going on, one thing you have to acknowledge is gratitude. Like, what do I have that's going right at the moment? Like, not everything is always bad. As I say, even if the curtain is all black, you always have the small points which is white, and you just put your energy on the white part of it, and you do your thing. I know it's easy to say focus on the positive and stuff, but to be honest, you just have to grab the only positive you have, even if it's the fact that you're breathing. It's already something positive. So you need to grab that. And another thing is also to bridge the gap. That is maybe work-wise, I might say. If you see that there is a skill that is in demand and stuff like that, you have to get trained to be able to match the expectation of the job post you're going for. And so
dang.
that's what I can tell anybody to. leverage on.
Well, I
to do.
think this podcast is this episode is full of wisdom. I would say, full of experience. It was nice to have you. It was really great. It
Thank
was
you.
really great to have you. It was really good to have your French experience, and thank you very much. And yeah, we made it.
Yay! Finally.